are brittle in nature. That's why people don't use it for making the chamber and all. But part of the structure can be made by using cast irons. Okay, go to the next slide. Materials used in vacuum technology. So under that, we are talking about metals in this slide. In under metals category, it can be different types of metals. The first one is stainless steel. Why it is chosen? Because it is having a property that it is all-round material. All-round material means whatever we want, we can make out of it. We can make a basic structure. We can make a holder to hold the chamber. We can make pipes or tubes which will carry some gases inside the chamber. So it is all round material. It will not react with the gases mostly, right?
Yes.
So and distortion during welding is less. When we are welding, we are joining two parts of stainless steel. We can connect it with less distortion. In case of the second metal which is listed here, it is aluminium and aluminium alloys. You have seen many aluminium parts around you. It is having good corrosion resistance. It does not corrode easily. It is easy to machine because it is a soft metal, but it is having poor strength at high temperature. And when we are welding it, it will have high distortion. So there are certain good properties and certain not required. Certain properties are not required, right? So you have been listed here some properties of the metals which are useful for vacuum systems and what property we should take care while using it. Okay. High strength at high temperatures, excellent corrosion resistance, high cost, and there are certain machining problems. So if we are going for very high temperature inside the chamber where the stainless steel or aluminium will not work, there which material should be used? Nickel alloys.
Sir, a question. Why can't we use titanium here?
Titanium for which purpose?
For vacuum technology. I mean, we have got stainless steel, aluminum alloys, nickel alloys, and copper. But titanium is just as durable and it's also lightweight.
It is lightweight. We have to compare the strength and cost.
Okay, but
titanium
does also have the requisite.
Titanium actually just before this slide, I think before this slide, somewhere we have listed in case of sorbents, titanium was listed there, which is used generally in one of the vacuum pumps. Anyone remembers in which pump we have used titanium?
Turbomolecular maybe?
Turbomolecular pump.
No. One of the sorbent pumps.
Conductor pumps.
Which one?
Meet your voice is very distorted.
Sorbent pumps where there is absorption when we sputter titanium and we adsorb some of the material or we deposit the titanium layer in which many gaseous molecules get trapped. That pump you remember?
Sputter ion pump, that is.
That is sputter ion pump. So there we use titanium actually. Titanium is used in vacuum systems, but titanium is not used for making structures or making the body of the chamber. That is related to its strength and cost.
Okay.
I hope it answers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the next material is copper. In under metals category, copper is easy to machine. It is having good corrosion resistance, but good means it is not having corrosion resistance at par with the stainless steel, right?
Okay.
You know that it is prone to corrosion. Copper is prone to corrosion. Then, especially oxygen-free copper is used here. It should have high thermal conductivity. That's why it is used here, so that heat is not trapped inside the chamber or inside the tube, and it is released in outside atmosphere. Then difficult to braze in hydrogen atmosphere. Braze means it is difficult to deposit a hard coating on it. in hydrogen atmosphere. That is one drawback. Okay.
Sir, so when would so whenever we would need hydrogen systems to whenever we would need a vessel containing hydrogen to be vacuumed, that's when this would be difficult.
Yes. So there we may use stainless steel there.
Okay.
Right. What is the use of OFHC? That we'll see in some of the figures. Then you will have better understanding about where to use copper or where not to use. Okay. Now go to the next one. Next slide. The next is brass. It is having good corrosion resistance. But one of the drawback is if you are using it at temperature greater than 100 degrees Celsius, zinc will evaporate from it. So it will not remain brass. It will become a new composition which may have a different strength. And evaporation of zinc may be creating some problem during the process. The drawback. Then mild steel, not generally used as it is liable to rust. Okay. Now go to the next slide. You can see there is one part of a bigger vacuum system is shown. In this part, what and all materials are used, just to show that this photograph is kept here. Okay.
Okay.
For baking out, what is done here, once everything is connected, after that it is being baked out. For doing that, there is heating tape connected on top of the material tubes. And then it is switched on. After the heating tape is on, it will be heated up to few hundred degrees Celsius. And everything is getting baked, outgassing will take place. And if the vacuum pump is running, inside part, gases will be taken out through the vacuum pump. Okay. And you can see there is a connector used here, L-shaped connector, which is copper, which is made of copper. And the ends of those connectors are connected with the glass tube, and that is called flange, where the connection between glass and copper is made. The flange is made of brass. And the lower portion, you can see there is a piece made of aluminium. I think it is one of the valve, the lower portion, which will be operating to open this line or close this line.
Okay.
So you can see in this photograph itself, there are three different types of materials: pure ceramic and brass. That is a right.
Yes, alloy. Yes.
Yes. So this photograph, once you ask me why so many photographs, the photographs is to clarify certain things which are told in the text. Okay.
Yes.
Now go to the next slide. Now here, next slide, here onwards, whatever we studied in the previous slides, more details of that is given here. Some of the examples, some new terms are given. And when you are studying these slides, you should check these terms on the Wikipedia or from the net, what it means, where it is used, so that your knowledge gets improved. Okay. If I told you in the first slide that the materials required in vacuum system should have low vapor pressure. And what it is asked, what is the requirement of material to be used in vacuum system? So vapor pressure. The answer is, what is the answer of this question?
It should be low enough that we do not observe leaks.
Yes, we should not evaporate by itself inside the chamber. It should be low vapor pressure. If I tell you three different materials at room temperature, at atmospheric pressure, which one is having high vapor pressure, you have to tell me. Three materials I am telling. Okay.
Okay.
The first one is iron, stainless steel, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter cube. Okay.
Okay.
The second is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter cube of ice.
Okay.
The third is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter cube of camphor.
Okay. And
Now
this is at room temperature?
All are at room temperature, atmospheric pressure, in open environment. Which one is having high vapor pressure?
Ice.
Camphor?
Ice.
Anyone else?
Shamna, your voice is not audible.
Samna is right. Camphor is having highest vapor pressure. The one which is easy to evaporate or which is prone to evaporate fast at room temperature will have higher vapor pressure.
Hmm.
And the one which is not evaporating at all will not have a vapor pressure around it, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right, sir.
So when we are using a material for vacuum system, what are the criteria to be asked for selecting the material? First is what is its vapor pressure? What is its surface area? Why generally we prefer to have to use glass tubes? What is its specific surface area for same size volume, like 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter cube? Take all three examples the same which we had taken previously. Which one will have high or low surface area? Which one have, in terms of one of them, you can tell?
The higher surface area would lead to a higher vapor pressure.
There may be some other problems also. We want a smooth surface so that whatever base area is shown on the front, same surface area remains. If it is not nicely polished or if it is not a smooth surface, then what will happen? Its surface area of the given or shown surface will be more. Like if I am considering 1 meter by 1 meter piece of 1 meter by 1 meter, what is the area? 1 meter square, right?
Yes.
If I am considering 1 meter square area of highly polished steel surface, 1 meter by 1 meter area of glass surface, and 1 meter by 1 meter area of rough wooden piece. Which one will have higher specific surface area?
The wooden piece.
Right, because it is having microstructures on top of it, which will increase its surface area. So if there is surface area, there will be greater extent of adsorbed particles sitting on the surface. Do you understand this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now on these are two basic questions which must be asked when we are selecting a material for vacuum system. Other than these two questions, there are many more questions related to its strength, its temperature requirement, and at what temperature it melts, at what temperature it is having higher vapor pressure. Like one of the component was gone from brass at 100 degrees Celsius. So there are many more questions, but these two are basic questions. Okay. So typical materials of choice are glass because it is hard, non-porous, structurally rigid, smooth, minimum specific surface area is obtained. It is bakeable. Some of the examples are Pyrex or Kymex glass, which is having 70% silicon dioxide and it can be heated up to 550 degrees Celsius. Another example of glass which is bakeable is quartz or Vicor, which is having 96% SiO2. And it can be heated up to 1100 degrees Celsius. And it is chemically inert. That is also one of the important properties. Okay. Go to the next slide. Ceramics. So this is next class of material. We have already discussed about ceramics in the previous slides. Here are some more examples and little more description given. Like one of the special point of ceramic is it is electrical insulator. All the ceramics are electrically insulating, right? It is also thermal insulator. So where we don't want movement of heat, we can use ceramics there. Then it is equal to very high temperatures. And it is machinable also. Which ceramic is machinable? That example is given here. Lava is a machinable ceramic. Most of these ceramics, like the ceramics which we use in our kitchen, they are not machinable. They will break easily and their shapes cannot be changed. There are two examples given here, lava and Macor. These two are machinable ceramics. So this is an important information which you should keep with yourself. It may be useful for some of the competitive examinations also. right?
Okay, so sir, machinable means that we can change its shape and according to our desire, and it can handle more stress.
It can handle stress as well as we can change its shape. The
Okay.
change of shape is more important. When we say machinable, that means by using tools we can change its shape according to our needs.
Okay. Okay.
Go to the next slide. Now it is stainless steel. About stainless steel we had discussed in previous slide. I told you that there will be more descriptions given here. Now here what is important, there are two grades of steel which is used for vacuum system. One is 304 or 304 and another is 316. So these two steel are ideal stainless steel which are generally used in vacuum system. There is some difference in property between these two which will be listed in one of the tables afterwards. Okay, so now what is important, why it becomes stainless steel, that point should be clear. Why the steel becomes stainless? Due to addition of chromium. What is the chromium? What is chromium doing here? Chromium in the steel combines with oxygen of the atmosphere, and because of such combination, it forms a thin layer which is invisible on top of the steel material, and we can call it as a passive film which will not react with anyone because already chromium has reacted with oxygen. After reaction it has formed chromium oxide layer. Now no further reaction is possible. Because there is no reaction possible, there is no possibility of
any contamination or
rusting, right? Rusting will not take
rusting.
Yes. So rusting will not take place. Now the size of chromium atom and their oxide are similar. So they pack very neatly on top of the steel surface, and there is no any pores left out from where there is a possibility of any reaction or rusting. Okay. And it is a non-porous, impervious to infiltration. Impervious to infiltration means what? If we scratch it with some other tool, then after scratching, whatever small dent we are creating, that dent also will expose chromium again to the atmosphere, and it will make a chromium oxide layer there.
Okay.
So even if we create any dent on the surface of stainless steel, then also it remains stainless only. There is no possibility of corrosion or rusting. And it is breakable to high temperatures. So that is the important property of stainless steel, due to which it is useful for vacuum applications. Go to the next slide. In this slide, whatever reason I had told you there in the previous slide is described by a figure. This is showing you that chromium and iron are present together on the surface of the steel. Because chromium percentage is high, it is in the range of 10 to 12%. That is sufficient to create chromium oxide layer on top of stainless steel, which is a passive layer which protects the stainless steel material to react further with oxygen, or to rusting will not take place due to this layer. Okay. Stainless steel becomes stronger because this layer is thin, hard, and adherent, or sticking on the surface. Okay. I hope it clarifies.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next slide. Now, if this is the next material, aluminium. It is much easier to machine than stainless steel. That is one important aspect. But machining is not only one aspect which we are considering. There are some more aspects. So, and the second aspect is also fulfilled. It forms impervious oxide because aluminium reacts with the oxygen of atmosphere and forms an oxide layer on top of it. One more advantage of aluminium is strength to weight. Like if I am having 1 kilogram of aluminium and 1 kilogram of stainless steel, if I have created similar shape, then of same thickness and same size shape piece of vacuum system I have created by using both of them, you will find that aluminium piece is having greater strength for the same weight as compared to stainless steel. This is one advantage of this. And but one disadvantage you can see here. What is this disadvantage?
The outgassing rate.
Yes, we don't want high outgassing rate, but aluminum is having high outgassing rate, which is 5 to 10 times more than stainless steel. That is one big disadvantage. But in some cases where we want lightweight system, I have shared one link with you where there was one space application there, space application of cryogenics. Have you studied about it?
No, sir. I don't think.
Anyone studied about it?
So where did you send the link?
I sent it 2-3 weeks back. It was related to space travel. Cryogenic system for space travel.
I don't think so, sir.
No one has seen that. It was a recent news item. I just shared for your interest. There, I think if you are talking about space travel, you need to have lightweight, high vacuum system. Okay. There you may use aluminium, even though its outgassing rate is high, but if it is baked and it is used in outside space where there is no air outside the system, there is no possibility of penetration of air through the material, or outgassing will take place before it can go in its own position. Okay. Because outside also it is perfect vacuum. Correct. In space, I am saying.
Yes.
Aluminium based system.
So, sir, it comes down to, because we have vacuum outside as well, the outgassing rate will not be very big disadvantage.
Yes, that is what I am saying. Okay, fine. Next slide. Brass and copper. So these are next two metals. Brass is an alloy of copper and two other elements, which was listed in previous slide. It is easy to machine, easily joined with soft or silver solder. Means we can connect two pieces. Things are available from commercial plumbing suppliers, so there is no problem of finding pieces to connect one piece with another. And one problem associated with brass is zinc is volatile. Zinc is one component of brass which is that means it evaporates at low temperature. So that is one disadvantage. But if we are not using at our system at higher temperatures, at room temperature we have to use, then brass is good material to select for tubing or for connections. Next slide. Some of the plastics are used in vacuum systems. Why they are used? Because they are easy to make new shapes. But there are certain disadvantages, like they are not bakeable at high temperature. There are few plastics which have been used frequently in vacuum systems. So example are nylon, Delrin, which are having higher stability. They don't degrade with respect to environment. Then Teflon. Teflon is very frequently used in different applications. It can be heated up to 200 degrees Celsius or around 200 degrees Celsius, and it is soft. Its mechanical strength is low, but it is useful for stopping vacuum leaks and all. Teflon tapes are frequently used to connect two pieces. Then Teflon lining is also used in some kind of chemical reactions. In a stainless steel container, inside portion is coated with Teflon so that chemical reaction will not affect the stainless steel body. Then polyamide or Kapton. This is another plastic material which is useful for vacuum systems. It is used for tape applications to reduce the vacuum leaks, and also it is having very low vapor pressure. That is one major requirement of the materials, right? Next slide. This slide, there are various numbers shown. These numbers are representing cross section of different types of O-rings which are used for sealing purpose. Different size of the system may have different size of O-ring requirements. Okay, so if it is small size O-ring, its cross section will be small, but if it is very big O-ring to be used, then its cross section will also be big. Different cross section O-rings are available in market, and when we are putting O-ring in a vacuum system, generally it is kept when we are joining two pieces together, right? So while we are joining two pieces together, in one of the pieces we can create a groove. Inside that groove, O-ring will be fitting in, and it will be little above the groove. The groove should be designed in such a way that O-ring should not go completely in the groove. Small part of the O-ring should come up above the groove. Okay, so that when the other piece we are joining at that position, it will not come in touch with the material. It will be touch with the O-ring only.
Okay.
So when we are creating a vacuum inside the chamber, what will happen? The other piece will get external pressure from outside air. When it is pressed on the other piece, in between O-ring is there, so O-ring will get pressed because it is rubber. And because O-ring is getting pressed, there is no leakage in between.
Okay, so the O-rings are made of rubber so that we can press it, and it whenever we remove the other piece, it will go back to its original shape.
Yes, but there are some more examples I will tell you where O-rings are not made of rubber; they are made of metal also.
Okay. Okay, but they have to fill the clearance completely, right, to block any kind of leakage.
Just to check next figure, next slide. Not next to the third one. Go to the third one. Yes, here you can see black linings. These are O-rings.
Okay.
So this is one application where O-rings, small size O-rings are used. When we are tightening the thread, what is happening on the O-ring? The upper part is getting pressed. So there is no possibility of air leakage through there. Okay. Now just go to the next one again. Yes, in this one you can see there are two pieces. It is one example of gate wall. And you can see there is inner piece which is marked by an arrow.
The one on the right?
The one on the left.
Okay.
Yes. That is inner piece. And there is an outer piece which is having many nuts on top of it, right? On both these pieces, you can see there is black color curve.
Yes.
That is O-ring. That is O-ring. This is bigger O-ring. It is having a cross section, but it is not kept just like that on the top of this piece. There is a groove made first. Inside that groove, this O-ring is fitted. Okay, but that groove depth will be less than the cross section diameter of the O-ring.
Okay.
So that above the surface. Okay.
Okay. And so then when we fill it, it will seal it basically.
Right. It will seal. That is what was shown in that O-ring figure. Just go back there.
Okay. We were here.
On the left hand side, you can see some dimensions given. There is a written clearance. Clearance you can see?
Yes.
Yes.
So that clearance is actually gap between two pieces which will join together through the O-ring.
Okay.
O-ring is little above the groove so that it will make some clearance between two pieces, the top piece and the lower piece. So that is how O-ring groove should be designed. For that purpose, this figure was kept here.
Hmm.
I hope you understood the purpose of other figures also. They are kept there to make you understand what is the use of these parts.
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay, now next slide. The next material is glass, which can be used for making tubes or pipes or stopcocks or ace walls or any other piece inside the vacuum chamber. And it is not bakeable to high temperatures, but just I told you there are two types of glass.
Hmm.
Remember them?
Um.
Perspex
And one more was
No, I think we'll have to go and check.
okay, fine. So quartz it was, right?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
Quartz is at a high temperature. We can bake it up to 1100 degrees Celsius.
Hmm.
And the other glass where SiO2 component is less, it can be baked up to 550 degrees Celsius, right?
Hmm. Yes. Yes.
That is how you should remember some of the numbers to write a short note on that question which I asked initially.
Okay.
For that purpose, all 50 slides are there in this lecture.
Hmm.
Now go to the next slide, which is showing you stopcock based wall.
Hmm.
One is showing you ace thread based wall. Go to the next one. Why these walls are designed? To allow or stop gas flow through the vacuum system. Once this wall is closed, nothing can flow through it. If it is open, gas can flow through it. Okay? Yes, this one is an important wall. It is called gate. It is generally used between chamber and diffusion pump. And it is a bigger wall which can, if once you manual actuator, you can see there is a handle, right?
Yes.
Once you rotate that handle, the central portion where arrow is pointing will move away. If it is moving away, the head of diffusion pump gets connected with chamber directly. And once we close this wall, the connection is completely stopped.
Sealed.
Sealed. Okay.
Yes.
Nothing can pass through it because of the presence of O-rings on each side of that central plate. Okay.
So we use multiple O-rings for better sealing, or is there another chamber inside? Or
we are using multiple O-rings for better sealing. The central portion which is moving inside is having O-ring on top part, which we can see. On the bottom side also it is having similar O-ring. Okay. And there many nuts are there on top of it. That nut is used to connect this piece with the chamber. We have to open all these nuts and keep it with the chamber plate, the lower plate of the chamber. All the holes are provided on the chamber lower plate also. So that wall, through that hole, these nuts can be connected with this wall. So it will be nicely attached with the chamber plate.
And then we can close using the manual actuator.
Between chamber plate and this gate wall, what is there? This O-ring.
The outer O-ring.
The outer O-ring, yes. That O-ring will be coming in contact with the lower plate of chamber wall. Lower plate, right? Anyone having any doubts?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Now go to the next slide. When we are talking about very high quality vacuum, that means a pressure of the order of 10 raised to minus 10 torr and all, right? Their O-ring also fails.
Okay.
The O-ring made of rubber fails there. In that case, we are having a different design. That design is using copper gasket. This is OHFC copper.
Okay.
this is many rings are kept together in the right hand side. One of them is kept outside. You can see it is a thin o-ring of copper. It is called copper gasket, and the pieces where it is used are having knife edge. Knife edge you can see on the left hand side. Knife edge means the stainless steel piece made itself in such a way that it, in place of groove, it is having an edge. Okay. That edge will be coming on top of copper when we are sealing it. There is a groove on the one side. You can see there is a groove on the bigger piece. In that groove, this copper gasket will be kept, and it will be little above the surface, and the piece will be kept on that copper, and because of its knife edge, it will be coming on the copper, and when we are tightening this piece on top of it, copper will have a mark because of tightening.
Okay.
And because copper is soft than a stainless steel, there will be airtight or vacuum sealing will be obtained due to knife edge sitting on the copper gasket. Clear?
Okay. Yes, sir.
So these are the mechanisms which have been developed by engineers in a long run, which are used in vacuum systems to avoid sealing or to avoid leakage. Okay. Now next slide. I think you are familiar with this equation which is given on top of this slide. This equation was developed from Clapeyron equation using Maxwell's equations.
Yes, sir. We have done this semester itself.
Okay. So this equation is used to tell you the pressure with respect to temperature change.
Yes.
Now, because your pump oil is having very low vapor pressure at 275 Kelvin, if it is having very low vapor pressure at 275 Kelvin, that means it will not evaporate inside the chamber, right?
Yes.
So 275 Kelvin is the temperature of cold water. So if we are allowing cold water to flow through the surface of the chamber, as well as a baffle plate we make of this type, the type you can see here is shown, it can be kept in between high vacuum wall and the chamber. If this type of baffle plate is kept there, it is having water flow through it. So what will be its temperature?
To around the temperature of the cold water.
Right, that is 275 Kelvin. Because it is this temperature. So if there is any back streaming from diffusion pump, what will happen? That back streamed oil will come in contact with this surface before coming into the chamber, and at this temperature, its vapor pressure will become very low. It will become in liquid state. It will come, right. So there is no vapor there, and there will be no harm to the process which we are doing inside the chamber. So for that, such traps are used inside the chamber, inside the vacuum, and this one is called water cooled baffle. There is another baffle made of
hello, sir. I think your voice cut out.
It is called LN2 baffle. Somebody called me on my phone. I just cut it.
Okay.
So it is LN2 baffle is also used inside the chamber, inside the system, in between high vacuum wall and chamber.
So these traps would be limited by the kind of contamination they would have to remove. For example, here we can remove pump oil, but other gases we wouldn't be able to remove, right?
Right. For that purpose, we had to use LN2 cooled baffle.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what temperatures would that go up to?
LN2 temperature, do you know?
Probably no, I think not.
Okay. So under cryogenics, the first topic which you study in the third unit is cryogenic cooling. For cryogenic cooling, you need to use liquid nitrogen or liquid helium.
Yes.
So liquid nitrogen, in short, it is called LN2.
Yes, that we are aware.
Its temperature is 77 Kelvin.
Okay.
Right. So LN2 cooled waffle will be working for most of the gases. If it does not work for some of the gases, then we have to go for liquid helium cooled waffle.
Okay. Got it, sir.
Yes. So now go to the next slide.
Okay.
There are some of the properties listed here, and one of your friends has asked about titanium. Titanium is a hard material. Its maximum operating temperature is also 1660 degrees Celsius.
Right.
And it can be used, but I think machining will be little difficult for it because it is quite hard.
Hard and brittle. Yes.
Brittle is for tungsten.
Tungsten.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
My bad.
Yes. So there are many materials. There are some of the properties. Their cost is also written here. You can see iron is low cost and titanium is moderate cost. So this type of tables are given in these slides so that you can compare the properties and cost of the material, and some of the comments are given there for there some properties which are not listed with numbers, right? Go to the next slide.
Sir, do we remember that whole table?
No need. I told you one question which can be asked from this chapter. The one who writes best answer will get best marks, and with comparison, others will get less marks compared to him. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now,
Sir, can you repeat that question once more?
anyone remembers that question?
Yes, Ravi, it was in the beginning of the chapter, the kind of materials that we use in vacuum technology.
Please mention the classification of materials used in vacuum technology and their important properties. Or it can be framed in another way, that what are the properties required for materials to be used in vacuum systems? It can be other question related to chromium, that which material should be used with steel so that it becomes stainless, and explain the mechanism by which it becomes stainless. So like that, mostly my questions will not be around the numbers present in the table. They will be general questions related to the materials used in vacuum technology, and they should the answer should explain all important aspects of the materials.
Okay, sir.
Without numbers it will work, but at least and all should be mentioned.
Okay.
Percentage of chromium inside stainless steel should also be known to you.
Okay. 10 to 15% by mass?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
10 to 12% it was mentioned in that slide.
Yes,
now,
it was.
Now go to the next one. You are already in next one. In this one it is selected properties of miscellaneous materials frequently used as alloying constituents like carbon, phosphorus, silicon. They are used with steel to improve its strength, right? So this table also you can refer. VP stands for vapor pressure.
Yes.
Now go to the next slide. In this one, stainless steel, little bit more information about stainless steel is given here. The risk of leaks due to presence of non-metallic micro and micro inclusions embedded in the microstructure of the final product. That should be checked. While you are specifying stainless steel for development of your vacuum system, this slide is written in such a way that you are a customer and you are going to give an order to some person who is already making vacuum system. Okay. So as a customer, what and all you should consider? You should consider the risk of leaks due to presence of non-metallic micro and macro inclusions. What are the, as I gave one example of dent or indent created due to stress. So such scratches, or if there is a bigger scratch present on the surface of the material which is used to make your chamber. So all places chamber wall thickness will be 1 centimeter say, but at the position of scratch it may be 0.8 centimeter. So that must be considered and checked. Okay. So the risk of leak can be reduced by these actions. There are 3 actions. The first one is in technical specification which you are framing to order a system. You can write that what is the maximum allowed content of non-metals inside stainless steel, or the grade of stainless steel which you have to use. Okay.
So why do we why are non-metallic inclusions given more importance in
Because
the specification?
in materials, stainless steel is made by adding silicon and carbon inside it.
Okay.
Percentage of, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now you
Yes.
are. Yes.
Yes, percentage of silicon and carbon present inside the stainless steel decides its strength.
Okay.
So those are non-metals only, carbon and silicon. And then the next specification which we can write is, we can write fine and homogeneous grain size. That will improve the strength of the steel. Also, we can specify that we want it to be tested after manufacturing or after development. And it can be non-destructive testing like ultrasonic testing on the final product or semi-final product also, like individual parts, tubes and chamber will be tested independently. Like that you can put a requirement. Okay. So these are non-destructive testing procedures which are used to check is there any problem associated with the surface finish of the material or not. So it can be an agreement between supplier and the customer. Okay.
Right.
Go to the next slide. Grades of practical interest for vacuum application. There is 304L. AISI is American Institute of Standards, right?
Okay.
So they have already decided which grade for what purpose. So it is generally 304 or 304 and 316. If L is written or LN is written, that means it is having some different compositions. All the elements present here are listed and their percentage is also mentioned. So you can compare different types of grades and which element is present in a greater extent compared to which one. That information can be compared through this table. Okay.
Yes.
Next slide. In this one, about aluminium, similar information is given for aluminium and its alloys. So, and you already know that what is the advantages of aluminium. It is much easier to machine. It can also form impermeable oxide. One disadvantage is its outgassing rate is higher, right? So you can compare different types of aluminium alloys with respect to its strength, and you can decide which aluminium should be used for which purpose or which application.
Yes.
Next slide. This slide is listing glasses. So we have already discussed some of the properties of the glasses. Common glasses are made of SiO2 with some added oxides like Na2O, sodium oxide, calcium oxide, magnesium oxide, aluminium oxide, or bromine oxide for some special characteristics. So these are the addition of some extra material with the SiO2 to have some properties in glasses. So what type of properties we are looking for? We are looking for transparency, electrical insulation. We are looking for different shapes it should retain. It should be easy to make some vacuum tight system. That type of properties we are looking for. Then glasses are categorized based on different value of temperature coefficient of linear expansion. Like there are 2 types of glasses. One is fusible glass, another is refractory glass. And they are difference in terms of temperature coefficient of linear expansion as listed here. Okay. For traps or flask, fusible glass is used. For the purpose like where mechanical strength is required, then refractory glass is used. Weaving port in high vacuum system. What is weaving port? That we'll see in next slide. Just so next slide. You can see there is one hole in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Inside this chamber, and there is one on the left hand side, right? So both of them are weaving port. Inside this port, I think thick glass plate is used. That will be around 8 mm to 1 centimeter.
Right.
So that glass plate is the material which is useful for weaving port. It is refractory glass. Go to the back slide. The last point is quartz glasses. Its softening temperature is 1520 Kelvin, low temperature coefficient of linear expansion, and high rate of permeability to helium. We don't want permeability, but there is no possibility here with the glass. It will be permeable. Quartz glass allows helium to permeate through it. So systems where helium is used, we cannot use glasses there. Okay.
Oh, we cannot use any kind of glasses?
It should not be permeable. We have to check its properties. By adding the elements, it may be less permeable, then we can use that. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Next, now this figure, I think I clarified why it was kept here.
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Next slide. Ceramics. Now this is next class of materials. General class of ceramics. It is glass bonded crystalline aggregates, single phase compounds such as oxide, sulfide, nitride, and borides and carbides. Mostly nitrides, oxides, sulfides, borides, and carbides of metals. Okay. So when aluminium reacts with oxygen, it becomes aluminium oxide. It reacts with nitrogen, it becomes aluminium nitride. Titanium reacts with carbon, it becomes titanium carbide. So like that, and if it reacts, some element reacts with boron, it becomes boride. So these materials have reacted with some other component to create a new class of material, which is called ceramics. Ceramics are much stronger material compared to their parent material. Okay. Process for formation, generally they are treated at high temperature, that is called sintering. Sintering of wetted powder so that contained entrapped gases are becoming very dense. The trapped gases will be released and pores will become smaller and smaller. Material will become dense and stronger. Okay. So, and properties of ceramics, they are mechanically strong. They have high dielectric breakdown strength, electrically insulator, thermally stable, very pressure. Physical properties improve as their density approaches that of bulk. That means the density becomes high. Okay. Any doubt still here?
No, sir.
Alumina is one of the example of vacuum grade ceramics. It is Al2O3. Its density is in the range of 85 to 100% of bulk density. It is dense, right? One thing which you should remember while you are answering the question related to this chapter, each class of material, 1 or 2 examples. Okay.
Okay.
Here alumina is given as one example. Its properties are given. So ceramics, when you are writing ceramics, what are ceramics? What is their process of formation? What is their property? What are their examples?
Okay.
Ceramic insulators are frequently fabricated from alumina or steatite or phosphatite. These are naturally occurring materials on Earth crust.
Okay.
Next, there is a list table again to tell you the properties of ceramic materials, list of ceramic materials, and some comments where it can be used. Okay. Next slide. The next class of material is plastics. One of the plastics.
Sir, I think we should take a break now.
Okay,
A
take a
lot
break.
of information. Yes, sir.
maybe we can reconnect after break.
I think, sir, 1 hour of time is enough for a day of a lecture.
Okay, so all agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What,
sir.
whatever is remaining in these slides is not much, I think. We can finish in next 5 to 10 minutes if you agree.
Mm,
Those figures which are kept afterwards are just to tell you how two pieces are connected by different methods, connecting flange, using copper o-ring, different type of shapes, T shape, L shape, or 4 connectors together, flange systems. You can go fast on the slides. After this slide, next one. These are different types of connectors I am showing you, right? Now, next one. This flange connection, I already told you that how the knife edge can be used to connect two flanges, gasket, right? And, all different types of connectors and use of O-rings or gasket. Go to, yes, here you can see there is a O-ring kept there. It is a cross section. So then next one. These figures are just to tell you how different types of connectors are developed so that vacuum sealing can be obtained without any leakage. Okay. And there is no question to be asked from this part. It is just to tell you different types of sealing systems or flange systems.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Go to the next one. Here O-ring is used. And the next one. Here you can see the copper gasket is pressed between two knife edges. So I think you will go through it, and if there are any more questions remaining, you will ask in next class, which we can have on tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Whenever is okay with you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Fine. So that's all for this one. We'll discuss the lecture number 10 also.
Okay.
For
Yes, sir.
any day when you are free, it will be on your call. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Fine. That's all. Thank you
Okay,
for
sir.
joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the
Thank you,
lecture,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye.